Have you ever spent hours mowing, watering, and caring for your lawn only to wake up one morning and find stubborn weeds popping up everywhere? It doesn't matter how beautiful your yard looked last week. Once weeds start taking over, they seem to spread faster than you can remove them. Before you know it, dandelions, crabgrass, clover, and other unwanted plants are stealing nutrients, water, and sunlight from your healthy grass. It's frustrating, it's time-consuming, and if you're like most homeowners, you've probably wondered if there's an easier solution. The internet is filled with bold claims promising miracle weed killers that cost almost nothing to make. One of the most popular claims says that just 1 cup of a simple household ingredient can wipe out every weed in your yard while leaving your grass completely untouched. It sounds almost too good to be true. Imagine saving money, avoiding expensive chemicals, and finally winning the battle against weeds with something you probably already have in your kitchen. But is there actually any truth behind these claims, or is it just another gardening myth that's been shared thousands of times online? Welcome back to Fresh Homegrown Harvest, your trusted source for practical gardening tips, smart DIY projects, seasonal growing tips, and expert advice to help your garden flourish all year long. Whether you're a beginner planting your very first lawn or an experienced gardener looking for easier ways to maintain your outdoor space, you're in exactly the right place. In today's video, we're going to uncover the truth behind one of the most talked about homemade weed killers on the internet. We'll reveal what that mysterious 1 cup ingredient really is, explain how it works, discuss where it works best, and most importantly, show you how to use it safely without accidentally damaging the lawn you've worked so hard to grow. We'll also share several professional lawn care secrets that can dramatically reduce weeds naturally, so you're not constantly fighting the same battle every few weeks. You might be surprised to learn that the real secret isn't just what's inside the cup. Timing, application, lawn health, and understanding the type of weeds you're dealing with all play a much bigger role than most people realize. In fact, many people unknowingly make simple mistakes that make homemade weed killers seem ineffective, when a few small adjustments could have made all the difference. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what works, what doesn't, which common myths you should ignore, and how to build a healthier lawn that naturally resists weeds throughout the growing season. These are the same practical techniques that experienced gardeners use to keep their landscapes looking clean, green, and thriving year after year. Before we dive in, we'd love to hear from you. Head down to the comments and tell us, what's the most stubborn weed growing in your lawn right now? Is it dandelions, crabgrass, clover, nutsedge, or something else? Your answer might even help other gardeners who are dealing with the very same problem. And if you're new to Fresh Homegrown Harvest, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Every week, we bring you easy-to-follow gardening guides, money-saving DIY projects, seasonal growing tips, and expert advice to help your garden flourish all year long. Now, let's uncover the truth about the 1-cup weed killer everyone is talking about. Many people are surprised to discover that the 1-cup ingredient featured in countless homemade weed killer recipes is nothing more than ordinary white vinegar. It's inexpensive, easy to find, and probably already sitting in your kitchen cupboard. Because it contains acetic acid, vinegar can quickly dry out the leaves of many young weeds, making them wilt and turn brown within hours on a warm, sunny day. At first glance, it almost looks like magic. Spray it in the morning, and by the afternoon, the weeds may already look like they've given up. But before you start filling a spray bottle, there's something extremely important you need to understand. The biggest myth surrounding vinegar is that it somehow knows the difference between a weed and your lawn. Unfortunately, that's simply not true. Vinegar is what's known as a contact herbicide. That means it only affects the plant tissue it touches. If the spray lands on the leaves of a weed, it can burn those leaves, but if it lands on healthy grass, it can burn the grass as well. That's why so many homeowners end up with ugly brown patches after trying homemade weed killers. The problem wasn't necessarily the vinegar, it was the way it was applied. This is why experienced gardeners never spray homemade vinegar mixtures across an entire lawn. Instead, they use them as a precision tool. Think of it like using a paintbrush instead of a roller. The goal is to target only the unwanted weed while protecting the surrounding grass. Some gardeners even use a small foam brush or a sponge to wipe the solution directly onto the weed leaves instead of spraying. It takes a little more time, but it dramatically reduces the risk of damaging healthy turf. Another thing most viral videos fail to mention is that vinegar works best on young weeds. Freshly sprouted weeds have soft, tender leaves that lose moisture quickly when exposed to acetic acid. Mature weeds, however, are a completely different story. Many have thick, waxy leaves that resist drying, while others store energy deep underground in extensive root systems. Even if the leaves die back, the roots may remain perfectly healthy and send up new growth a week or two later. That's why some people swear vinegar works wonders, while others claim it doesn't work at all. In reality, they're often treating completely different types of weeds. Take dandelions, for example. Those bright yellow flowers may look harmless, but beneath the surface lies a thick taproot that can extend several inches into the soil. If only the leaves are burned away, the root often survives and simply grows a new set of leaves. The same is true for many perennial weeds. They have evolved to survive grazing animals, lawnmowers, and harsh weather, so losing a few leaves isn't enough to stop them permanently. On the other hand, annual weeds are much easier to control. These weeds complete their entire life cycle in a single growing season. They germinate, grow, flower, produce seeds, and die within a matter of months. If you catch them early, before they have a chance to produce seeds, you can often stop the next generation from ever appearing. That's why regular inspection of your lawn is one of the simplest yet most effective gardening habits you can develop. Timing also makes an enormous difference. Imagine washing your car just before a rainstorm. All your hard work would be washed away. The same principle applies to homemade weed sprays. If rain falls shortly after application, much of the vinegar may be diluted or rinsed off before it has enough time to damage the weed. That's why checking the weather forecast is always worth the extra minute. Choose a dry day with several hours of sunshine ahead for the best possible results. Temperature matters too. Warm sunshine speeds up the drying effect of vinegar, helping it remove moisture from the weed leaves more quickly. Cooler, cloudy days often produce slower and less dramatic results. This doesn't mean the treatment won't work at all, but you may need to be a little more patient or repeat the application if necessary. Wind is another factor that's often overlooked. Even a light breeze can carry tiny droplets farther than you expect. A spray intended for a single weed can drift onto flowers, vegetable plants, shrubs, or perfectly healthy grass. That's why calm mornings are usually the safest time to apply homemade weed treatments. Less wind means greater accuracy and less risk of accidental damage. Some gardeners like to improve their homemade mixture by adding a few drops of liquid dish soap. Contrary to popular belief, the soap isn't there because it kills weeds. Its main purpose is to help the vinegar stick to the leaves. Many weeds have naturally waxy surfaces that cause water to bead up and roll off. Dish soap breaks that surface tension, allowing the solution to spread more evenly across the leaf and remain in contact longer. Sometimes that small adjustment is enough to noticeably improve the effectiveness of the treatment. However, there is one ingredient you'll often see recommended that deserves a word of caution: salt. While salt can certainly damage weeds, it can also damage your soil. Unlike vinegar, which eventually breaks down, salt can remain in the ground for a long time. High salt levels make it difficult for many plants, including grass, to absorb water properly. That's why using salt in lawns or garden beds is generally not recommended. It may solve one problem while creating another that lasts for months or even years. If salt is ever used, it should only be in areas where you never intend to grow plants again, such as cracks in a concrete driveway or between paving stones. The truth is, successful weed control is rarely about finding one miracle ingredient. It's about understanding how weeds grow, using the right method for the situation, and combining several good gardening practices. That's exactly what we'll explore next, because preventing weeds from growing in the first place is often much easier than trying to eliminate them after they've taken over. The best weed killer you'll ever use isn't something you spray, it's a healthy lawn. That might sound surprising, but it's the truth. A thick, lush lawn is one of nature's best defenses against weeds. When your grass grows dense and vigorous, it forms a natural barrier that blocks sunlight from reaching weed seeds hidden in the soil. Without enough light, many of those seeds simply can't germinate. Even if they do manage to sprout, they'll struggle to compete with established grass that's already taking up the available water, nutrients, and space. Think of your lawn as a team. When every blade of grass is healthy and growing well, weeds have very few opportunities to move in. But if your lawn is thin, patchy, or stressed, it's like leaving the front door wide open. Weeds are opportunistic. They don't wait for an invitation. They take advantage of every bare patch they can find. That's why improving your lawn's health often reduces weed problems naturally, without relying on repeated applications of any weed killer. One of the simplest ways to strengthen your lawn is by mowing correctly. Surprisingly, many homeowners cut their grass too short, believing it means they'll mow less often. In reality, scalping your lawn does far more harm than good. Short grass exposes the soil to direct sunlight, creating ideal conditions for weed seeds to sprout. It also weakens the grass itself by reducing its ability to produce energy through photosynthesis. Over time, this leads to shallow roots and a lawn that's less able to withstand heat, drought, and weed invasion. Instead, aim to mow at the recommended height for your grass type. Taller grass develops deeper roots, shades the soil, and naturally suppresses weed growth. As a general rule, never remove more than 1/3 of the grass blade in a single mowing. Cutting too much at once shocks the plant and slows its recovery. Frequent mowing at the proper height keeps your lawn healthier while making it harder for weeds to establish themselves. Watering is another area where many gardeners unintentionally encourage weeds. Daily light watering may seem like a good idea, but it actually promotes shallow root systems. Grass with shallow roots dries out quickly during hot weather, leaving weak spots that weeds can exploit. Instead, water deeply but less frequently. A thorough soaking encourages grass roots to grow deeper into the soil, making them stronger and drought-resistant. Deep-rooted grass is better equipped to outcompete weeds for moisture, especially during the hottest months of the year. If you're unsure whether your lawn is getting enough water, there's a simple trick you can try. Push a screwdriver or a long stick into the soil a few hours after watering. If it slides in easily several inches deep, you've likely watered enough. If the soil is hard and dry just below the surface, your lawn probably needs a longer watering session rather than more frequent ones. Feeding your lawn with the proper nutrients also plays an important role. Grass, like any plant, needs a balanced supply of nutrients to grow vigorously. When it's underfed, growth slows, the lawn becomes thin, and weeds quickly fill the empty spaces. Applying fertilizer at the right time of year helps grass stay thick and healthy. However, avoid the temptation to overfeed. Too much fertilizer can cause rapid, weak growth that requires more mowing and may even increase susceptibility to disease. Healthy soil is equally important. Many people focus entirely on what grows above the ground while forgetting what's happening below the surface. Beneath every healthy lawn is a living ecosystem filled with earthworms, beneficial fungi, bacteria, and countless microorganisms. Together, they help break down organic matter, release nutrients, improve soil structure, and support healthy root development. Taking care of your soil is one of the best long-term investments you can make for your garden. Compacted soil is one of the biggest obstacles to a healthy lawn. Years of foot traffic, children's games, parked vehicles, or even heavy rainfall can press soil particles tightly together. When this happens, air, water, and nutrients struggle to reach the roots. Grass becomes weak, while many weeds continue to thrive because they're adapted to difficult conditions. If your lawn feels hard underfoot, or water tends to pool after rain, soil compaction could be part of the problem. Fortunately, there's an effective solution: lawn aeration. Aerating involves creating small holes throughout the lawn, allowing oxygen, water, and nutrients to penetrate deeper into the root zone. Over time, this encourages stronger root growth and healthier grass. Many gardeners are amazed at how much thicker their lawn becomes after regular aeration combined with proper watering and fertilizing. Another excellent strategy for reducing weeds is overseeding. If your lawn has thin patches, spreading fresh grass seed during the appropriate season helps fill those empty spaces before weeds have a chance to claim them. As the new grass establishes itself, it competes directly with weed seedlings, leaving them with fewer opportunities to grow. Overseeding is especially useful after aerating because the holes created during aeration provide excellent contact between seed and soil. Of course, no matter how healthy your lawn becomes, a few weeds may still appear from time to time. That's perfectly normal. Even the most carefully maintained gardens aren't completely weed-free. The key is dealing with them while they're still small. A 5-minute walk around your yard once or twice a week can save you hours of work later. Pulling or treating a handful of young weeds is much easier than waiting until they've spread across the entire lawn. One habit shared by experienced gardeners is that they never let weeds go to seed. A single mature weed can produce hundreds or even thousands of seeds, many of which can remain dormant in the soil for years. Every weed you remove before it flowers is potentially preventing countless future weeds from appearing. It's one of the simplest ways to make your gardening work easier season after season. The more you understand how weeds and grass compete with one another, the more successful you'll become. Instead of constantly reacting to weeds after they appear, you'll begin creating conditions that naturally discourage them from growing in the first place. That's the real secret behind beautiful lawns. Not endless spraying, but consistent care that keeps your grass healthier than the weeds trying to invade it. Now that you know how to build a healthier lawn, let's talk about one of the most overlooked parts of weed control: identifying why weeds are growing in the first place. Weeds don't just appear by chance. They often act as nature's signal that something in your lawn needs attention. In many cases, they're telling you that the soil is compacted, the grass is stressed, drainage is poor, or there are bare patches that need to be filled. Instead of seeing weeds as the enemy, try thinking of them as clues. Once you understand what those clues mean, you can fix the underlying problem rather than repeatedly treating the symptoms. For example, if you notice weeds growing only in heavily shaded areas beneath trees, the issue may not be the weeds themselves. Most lawn grasses need several hours of sunlight each day to thrive. Without enough light, the grass becomes thin and weak, leaving room for shade-tolerant weeds to move in. In situations like this, trimming lower tree branches to allow more sunlight through, or planting a shade-tolerant grass variety may solve the problem more effectively than spraying weed killer over and over again. Likewise, if weeds consistently appear in areas where water pools after every rainfall, poor drainage could be the culprit. Grass roots need oxygen just as much as they need water. When soil stays saturated for long periods, the roots struggle, and weeds that tolerate wet conditions quickly take advantage. Improving drainage by leveling low spots, adding organic matter, or installing proper drainage systems can dramatically improve the health of your lawn and reduce future weed problems. Bare spots deserve special attention as well. Whether they're caused by heavy foot traffic, pet damage, disease, or drought, empty patches are an open invitation for weeds. Nature doesn't like bare soil, and if grass isn't occupying that space, something else almost certainly will. As soon as you notice a thin or damaged area, loosen the soil, add quality grass seed, and keep it moist until new growth becomes established. Filling bare spots early prevents weeds from claiming that valuable space. Let's also talk about one gardening habit that many people underestimate: regular observation. The most successful gardeners don't wait until their lawns are overrun with weeds before taking action. Instead, they spend a few minutes each week simply walking through their yard. They notice changes, spot new weeds while they're still tiny, check for signs of pests or disease, and catch small problems before they become expensive ones. Those few minutes of observation often save hours of work later in the season. If you do decide to pull weeds by hand, timing is everything. The easiest time to remove weeds is shortly after a good rain or after watering your lawn. Moist soil allows the roots to slide out much easier, reducing the chance that pieces of the root will break off and remain in the ground. For deep-rooted weeds like dandelions, using a weeding tool can help remove the entire taproot, increasing the chances that the weed won't return. Another simple but effective tip is to dispose of flowering weeds properly. If a weed has already produced flowers or seed heads, avoid leaving it lying on your lawn or adding it to a compost pile that doesn't reach high temperatures. Some weed seeds can survive and later spread back into your garden. Bagging mature weeds or disposing of them appropriately helps prevent a new generation from taking over. Patience is perhaps the most valuable tool every gardener can develop. We live in a world where many products promise overnight success, but healthy lawns aren't built in a weekend. They develop through consistent care over months and years. Every time you mow correctly, water wisely, improve your soil, overseed thin areas, and remove young weeds before they spread, you're investing in the future health of your lawn. Those small efforts may not seem dramatic from one day to the next, but by the end of the season, the difference can be remarkable. Remember, the goal isn't necessarily to eliminate every single weed forever. That simply isn't realistic. Even professional landscapes occasionally have the odd weed appear. The real goal is to create a lawn that's so healthy and vigorous that weeds struggle to gain a foothold. When your grass becomes stronger than the competition, weed problems naturally become smaller, less frequent, and much easier to manage. So what about that famous one-cup solution? The truth is that white vinegar can certainly be a useful addition to your gardening toolkit. When applied carefully as a spot treatment on young weeds in the right conditions, it can produce fast, satisfying results. But it's not a miracle cure, and it won't permanently eliminate every weed while leaving every blade of grass untouched. Like any gardening method, it works best when combined with proper lawn care, patience, and realistic expectations. The healthiest lawns are rarely the result of a single product or secret recipe. They're built through good habits practiced consistently over time. Focus on strengthening your grass, improving your soil, watering deeply, mowing correctly, and addressing weeds while they're still small. Before long, you'll spend less time fighting weeds and more time enjoying a lush green lawn that becomes the envy of your neighborhood. If you've made it this far in the video, you're already ahead of many homeowners because you now understand that lasting weed control is about much more than what's inside a spray bottle. It's about creating an environment where your lawn thrives and weeds struggle to survive. Stick with these simple principles, stay consistent, and you'll be amazed by the transformation you see over the coming months. As we wrap up, there's one final lesson that every successful gardener eventually learns. There is no shortcut that replaces consistent care. It's easy to be tempted by headlines that promise a miracle solution or a single ingredient that solves every problem overnight. But gardening has always rewarded patience, observation, and persistence far more than quick fixes. Every healthy lawn you admire didn't become that way by accident. It became beautiful because someone invested time into mowing correctly, watering wisely, feeding the soil, and addressing small problems before they became major ones. That doesn't mean you need to spend hours working in your yard every weekend. In fact, a little maintenance done consistently is usually far more effective than one big cleanup once or twice a year. Spending just 10 or 15 minutes each week inspecting your lawn, pulling a few weeds, checking for bare spots, and making small adjustments can prevent countless hours of hard work later. Gardening isn't about working harder, it's about working smarter. If you're just beginning your lawn care journey, don't feel overwhelmed by everything we've discussed today. You don't have to do it all at once. Start with 1 or 2 simple improvements. Maybe this week you raise your mower height slightly. Next week, you decide to water more deeply instead of more frequently. The following week, you overseed a few thin patches or remove weeds before they flower. Small improvements add up faster than you might think, and before long, you'll begin noticing that your lawn is greener, thicker, and naturally more resistant to weeds. For those of you who enjoy gardening as a hobby, remember that every season teaches something new. One year might bring heavy rain, another might bring drought, and each season presents different challenges. The more you observe your lawn and learn how it responds to changing conditions, the more confident you'll become. Experience is one of the greatest gardening tools you'll ever have, and every success and even every mistake helps you become a better gardener. It's also worth remembering that a healthy lawn benefits more than just your home's appearance. Thick grass helps reduce soil erosion, absorbs rainwater, cools the surrounding area during hot weather, and provides a comfortable space for children, pets, and family gatherings. Taking care of your lawn isn't just about creating something beautiful, it's about creating an outdoor space that everyone can enjoy. And don't be discouraged if you don't see dramatic changes immediately. Grass grows gradually, roots develop over time, and lasting improvements often happen beneath the surface long before they're visible above ground. Stay consistent with your routine, trust the process, and give your lawn the time it needs to respond. Many gardeners are surprised by how different their yard looks after just one full growing season of proper care. Before you reach for any homemade weed killer, ask yourself a few simple questions. Is this weed young or well-established? Is my grass healthy enough to compete with it? Am I treating the cause of the problem or just the symptom? Is there a safer or more precise way to apply the treatment? Taking a few extra moments to think through these questions can save you time, money, and disappointment. So, does 1 cup of a common household ingredient kill every weed without touching your grass? The answer is no, but that doesn't mean homemade weed control has no place in your garden. Used carefully, white vinegar can be an effective spot treatment for young weeds in the right locations. Just remember that it's one tool among many, not a miracle cure. The real secret to a weed-free lawn has always been the same: healthy grass, healthy soil, consistent maintenance, and a little patience. We hope today's video has helped separate gardening facts from internet myths and given you practical tips you can start using right away. Whether you're caring for a small backyard, a large lawn, or even just a few garden beds, every step you take toward healthier plants brings you closer to the beautiful outdoor space you've been working toward. If you enjoyed this video and found these tips helpful, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps support the channel and lets us know you'd like to see more gardening content like this. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to Fresh Homegrown Harvest and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our latest gardening guides, seasonal planting tips, DIY garden projects, and simple solutions to common gardening problems. We'd also love to hear from you. Have you ever tried using white vinegar to control weeds? Did it work for you? Or have you found another method that's been even more effective? Share your experience in the comments below. Your advice could help fellow gardeners facing the same challenges. Thank you so much for spending part of your day with us here at Fresh Homegrown Harvest. We truly appreciate your support and look forward to growing alongside you one season at a time. Until next time, keep nurturing your garden, keep learning something new, and, as always, happy gardening.